Alright, yo what up dudes, today I'm going to bring you another D&D build. This time I'm going to be focusing on Emma Frost, particularly from Marvel Rivals, but I am going to be using her Fox appearance, if you even remember she was in that one, and I will be using the comics as well where they show up. Now before we get into this build, go ahead and do me a favor, go on down, hit that like and that sub button, and as always, if there's anything you do differently or if there's a character you want to see next time, leave me a comment down below. Now I'm not going to waste any more of your time, let's go ahead and get into our goals for this build. Number 1, I want to make sure she has psychic powers. In the games, Emma Frost has a little beam she can shoot out, and she also has a crystal she can form that takes a percentage of people's health. Not to mention her little projected shield, but there's a lot more you can do with psychic powers, and I want to make sure that we really touch on it here with her build in D&D. Second goal is I want to make sure she has a diamond form. Now in Marvel Rivals, this stops her from using her mental abilities, all of her psionic stuff. I'm going to be reflecting that here. I'm not 100% sure if that's also how she works in the comics, but I do know that this does stop her from being mind controlled or having people look into her mind. So I'm also going to be trying to work that in where I can. And for our third goal, we have deadly punches. Emma's punches and kicks are some of the most dangerous attacks in Marvel Rivals before the patch notes recently. She had a one-shot combo and it was devastating if you got caught in it. I'm also going to attempt to work her choke slam into this. You're welcome, Gooners. But overall, I want to make sure that I really showed off her raw strength and power properly. Starting off with her species, we have Earth Genasi. I was going to do variant human, but I feel like it's more interesting to see mutants as, for D&D purposes anyway, other species that just so happen to look human. Obviously in the actual MCU or comics, they're Homo superior, which is kind of just the next step in human evolution, in some issues anyway. But going on with Earth Genasi, all this really does for us is grant us dark vision, allowing us to see in dim light for 60 feet as if it were bright light and darkness as if it were dim light. It's only in shades of gray and it is up to 60 feet. If you're a DM, I would take note of that because there's a lot of times that even I forget that dark vision doesn't just illuminate the entire cave you're in. Second ability you get is Earth Walk. This allows you to move across difficult terrain without expending the extra movement, as long as you're using your walking speed and on the ground. Overall, this ability doesn't come in handy too often, unless your DM really likes shattering the ground, or I guess if you're fighting the thing, it would be very helpful. But overall, very useful when it does come in handy, but pretty niche in circumstances. Merge with Stone allows us to learn the Blade Ward cantrip, and we can cast it as normal. And we can cast it as normal for free since it is a cantrip, but we can also cast it as a bonus action a number of times equal to our proficiency bonus, regaining all expended uses after a long rest. I actually really like this ability for Earth Genasi, and I wish they did it more with other species and classes. Being able to change the casting time of a spell is very powerful, but I love how they work it in here to make Blade Ward really strong, because before it wasn't ever really useful, but at least not in my experience. If you have any experiences where Blade Ward saved your life, let me know down in the comments below, I guess. And at 5th level, you gain in the spell Pass Without Trace, basically allowing you to get a plus 10 to your stealth bonus. And I think this also leeches out to everyone within 10 feet of you. You can cast this once per long rest completely for free, but you can also cast it with any second level spells or second level spell slots or higher. Now for these traits, we are going to be using Charisma as our spellcasting ability. Now getting into the background of Emma, important to note that she was born into a rich Boston family and pretty early in her life splits away, built her own financial empire called Frost International. Lore drop aside, I would recommend the noble background. Now this isn't one that's been recreated in D&D yet, so it doesn't have a feat attached to it, but I would work with your DM to pick one that kind of fits the noble or the nobility kind of theme here. I would recommend, I think it's called Charlatan? I don't remember exactly what it is. You'll see it on screen if I'm wrong, but I think it's called Charlatan, or I would even recommend the Diplomat feat to add on to this background, if your DM wanted to. This gives us proficiency in history and persuasion, and as well as the tool proficiency in a gaming set of your choice. I chose the playing card set, but this would be very beneficial if you also had a character playing Gambit in your party. That way you could at least sometimes play cards with them. From this, we gain 3 points we can put into our ability scores. I'm putting 2 into Charisma and 1 into Strength. Now for her ability scores, I'm going to be using Standard Array. Feel free to roll for yours. Just keep our multi-class minimums in mind if you play by those rules. Now we're going to be primarily focusing on Charisma, Strength, and Constitution. Putting a 15 into Charisma, 14 into Strength, 13 into Con, 12 into Dexterity, 10 into Intelligence, and our 8 is going to fall into Wisdom. Now I don't usually do equipment for my character builds, but for Emma Frost it's important that I note some things. With your starting equipment, you get two choices, some gold or some actual equipment. For Emma Frost, I would highly recommend that we take the gold, because what we get for being a barbarian does not necessarily work for the kind of kit that I'm going for. You want to try to buy a maul as fast as possible, simply because a maul deals the same amount of damage as a great sword, just in bludgeoning damage, and it's what we're going to be flavoring into being our diamond form punches. So it's important that you get a maul or some sort of bludgeoning weapon very early, since I will not be using monk for this build. If I have to use monk for every single unarmed character in Marvel, every single one of them will be a monk. So I would rather try to keep it to what they're actually themed around, rather than, oh, he punches something, he has to be a monk. To summarize, make sure you get a maul, a warhammer, something big that deals bludgeoning damage, and reflavor that to be your punches when you're in your diamond form. With all that out of the way, let's get into the actual meat of the build. Starting off at level 1, we are going to be going directly into Barbarian. Now, I would love to start off by giving Emma some of her psionic abilities, but it makes a lot more sense to start off a little bit bulkier for D&D, and then we can have our psionic abilities come in later. For her core Barbarian traits, we're going to be going with Intimidation and Athletics. Now, this is the level where we gain Rage. When you activate your Rage, this is what I would recommend flavoring into being your diamond form. You have a limited number of rages, but they do grant you resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage. However, they do come with the caveat of not allowing you to concentrate on spells, and you cannot cast them while raging. Rage lasts for a minute, but it is important to note that it will end early if you don't make an attack roll against an enemy, force an enemy to make a saving throw, or you can just use your bonus action to extend it. Correction, Rage actually lasts for 10 minutes now. Additionally, at this level, we gain Unarmored Defense. Emma doesn't wear body armor. She can turn into a diamond. She has no need to. So, neither are we. With Unarmed Defense, we can add our Constitution to our armor class, making it 10 plus your Dexterity plus your Constitution, and we can still carry a shield during this time, which I would recommend doing if your DM allows it, alongside your maul or any of your sorcery stuff. Now, also at this level, you gain Weapon Mastery, allowing us to activate the mastery properties of two specific weapons. For us, we're going to be taking Maul, aka our punches, allowing us to use Topple, meaning whenever we hit a creature with our maul, we can force them to make a Constitution saving throw or fall prone. For the second weapon in our Weapon Mastery, I would choose Flail. This is another bludgeoning weapon. Feel free to switch this out with whichever one you choose, like Club or Great Club or any of the other ones I can't think of. However, for Flail, this gives us Sap, where upon hitting a creature, we can give them disadvantage on their next attack roll before the start of our next turn. At level 2, we're continuing into Barbarian, giving us Danger Sense. This is more akin to something Spider-Man would have, but it just gives us advantage on Dexterity saving throws unless we have the incapacitated condition. So, as long as you're not asleep, you can generally see things coming. Second level, we also gain Reckless Attack, my personal favorite ability Barbarian gets. This gives us advantage on all attack rolls using Strength for our turn. However, attack rolls against us also have advantage. Bit of a double-edged sword, but it's usually worth it, I'm going to be honest. Going into third level, we're taking a Barbarian subclass, where we're going to be taking Path of the Wild Heart, aka Totem Warrior. Now, this also gives us Primal Knowledge, allowing us to choose from an array of skills to change to be strength skills while our rage is active. I'm going to be going with Perception. None of the other ones really strike me as something that Emma would be able to do well. This also gives us Animal Speaker. If you're playing as a diehard Emma character for D&D, you're not going to touch this ability. But if you'd like to have fun with it, you can cast Beast Sense and speak with animals, but only as rituals. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for them, but I don't really think that's going to matter too much. Also at third level, we gain Rage of the Wilds, where we get to pick which animal we represent while we're raging. I decided to go with Bear. Now, Bear changes our rage to make it, instead of us only being resistant to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing from non-magical weapons, we have resistance to every single damage type with the exception of Force, Necrotic, Psychic, and Radiant. At fourth level, we're going to be going once again into Barbarian, going ahead and getting another Weapon Mastery. Just take another bludgeoning weapon or whatever weapon you really want. There's not really a weapon that I remember Emma Frost using other than her telepathy or her fists. And at this level, you also gain an ability score improvement. Now, if your DM does allow feats, this is a good time for you to take Tough. However, if they don't, I would highly recommend here that you add 2 to your strength modifier. At 5th level, we are going to be jumping into our multi-class of Sorcerer. At first level of Sorcerer, the only thing we gain is innate sorcery and spellcasting. All the spells that I choose for this kit will be on the right side of your screen, along with the flavoring that I decided to go with. Now, innate sorcery is actually very similar to a sorcerer's rage. So most of the time in combat, you're going to be picking between activating your innate sorcery or your rage, and kind of flopping between the two, much like how Emma Frost actually plays. But we'll get more into that at the very end when I go over a combat example. Now, innate sorcery gives you a +1 to your spell save DC, making it a little bit harder for people to save against your spells. And you have advantage on the attack rolls from all of your sorcerer spells you cast, for the duration. You can use this feature twice before you need to take a long rest to replenish them. Now at 2nd level, we're going to be jumping into more Sorcerer. This gives us Font of Magic, which just simply allows us to exchange sorcery points for spell slots and spell slots for sorcery points. We also gain Meta Magic. Now Meta Magic is a little bit of pizzazz that you can put onto a spell of your choice. At this level, we are going to be taking Empowered Spell and Extended Spell. Empowered Spell simply allows you to spend a sorcery point and re-roll a damage dice up to your charisma modifier. Now, Extended Spell can change any spell that has a duration of a minute or longer. We can spend 1 sorcery point and double its duration. It caps at 24 hours, but I don't think you're ever going to hit that, if I'm being honest. Additionally, if the affected spell requires concentration, you have advantage on any saving throw to maintain that concentration. For our 7th level, we're going to be taking another level in Sorcerer, going ahead and getting that subclass, where we are going to be taking Aberrant Sorcery. I think I said that right. And now that gives us a whole slew of psionic spells. Additionally, you gain Telepathic Speech. I feel like this is pretty on the nose, but where you can take a bonus action, choose 1 creature within 30 feet of yourself, and you and the chosen creature can communicate telepathically with each other as long as you remain within a couple miles of each other. The specific distance is your charisma modifier number of miles. Now this telepathic communication lasts for a number of minutes equal to your sorcerer level. It does, however, end early if you use this ability to form a connection with a different creature. So you can only telepathically talk to 1 person at a time. Now at 8th level, we're taking another level in a sorcerer, giving us our ability score improvement. This is a great time to bump our charisma up. However, I'm going to be taking Warcaster, that way we can wear our shield and not have to worry about casting spells. Now Warcaster gives us advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration on a spell. Additionally, we can wear shields and not be hindered by the somatic components of spells. And for anyone unaware, somatic just means the hand signs you do. And whenever any creature provokes an opportunity attack, you can use that reaction instead to cast a spell on them. Now the casting time has to be an action or lower, and also it must only target that creature. So you can't reaction cast Fireball, sadly. Continuing in Sorcerer, we're going to be getting our 5th level, granting us Sorceress Restoration. This allows us to regain half of our sorcery points whenever we finish a short rest, once per long rest. Moving into our 6th level of Sorcerer, we gain Psionic Sorcery, allowing us to cast any of 1st level or higher spell from our Psionic spell list with a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level. Now casting it in this way changes the spell to require no verbal or somatic components, and it requires no material components unless they are consumed by the spell. And this also gives access to psychic defense, giving us resistance to psychic damage, and you have advantage on saving throws to avoid being charmed or frightened. Now this resistance to psychic damage is very beneficial even while we're raging. Since we're a Bear Totem Barbarian, raging does not cover up psychic damage, so now we're resistant to psychic damage as well, giving us resistance to just about everything. Only Force, Necrotic, and Radiant are outside of that. And how often do you really get hit with those? With our 7th level of Sorcerer, we gain Sorcery Incarnate, essentially allowing us to spend 2 sorcery points to reactivate Innate Sorcery if we have none left. Additionally, while our Innate Sorcery feature is active, you can put 2 metamagic options on each spell you cast. For our 8th level of Sorcerer, we are going to be taking the ability score improvement. Now this is the time when I would bump your charisma up too. If you already did that, take Warcaster, and if you already have both of those, I'd recommend Spell Sniper. Now with 9th level of Sorcerer, we simply just gain a couple more spells, as well as a couple more of our psionic spells that we can cast with no component using our psionic sorcery feature we got back at level 6. Jumping back into Barbarian, at our 5th level we gain extra attack. This allows us to attack twice instead of once whenever we take the attack action. We also gain fast movement, allowing us to move an additional 10 feet as long as you're not wearing heavy armor. Just make sure your DM doesn't think too hard, and diamond skin is not going to count as heavy armor. Hopefully. Now moving on to our 6th level of Barbarian, we gain Aspect of the Wilds. Now this gives us a new animal we can choose to gain some additional attributes from. We are going to be going with Panther, which simply gives us a climb speed. I don't feel like it's too far-fetched to think that Emma Frost could use her diamond-tipped fingers to just pierce a wall and climb up that way. I don't remember her ever doing it, but I could be very wrong. It feels like something that the writers would have done already. And moving on to 7th level of our Barbarian, we gain Feral Instinct. This simply allows us to get advantage on initiative rolls. Additionally, at 7th level, we gain Instinctive Pounce. Whenever we take the bonus action to enter our rage, we can immediately move half of our movement speed, on top of our already 40 movement speed, making it essentially 60 the first time we rage, which I think works perfectly to kind of mimic Emma Frost's choke slam, how she kind of dashes forward to grab someone. So that's just some interesting flavor if you're ever charging towards someone to grab them. Just keep in mind that your fists are technically a maul, so depending on your DM, you may not be able to grapple someone while holding it. If your DM's chill, then it should be fine, but for the stricter DMs out there who are a bit more focused on the actual rules, then just remember that you can also stow this maul as a part of your attack action, and your attack action can be a grapple. So you can always just stow them all, grapple them, and then if you don't want to grapple them anymore, at the end of that attack action, you can unsheath whatever weapon you want. Moving into our 8th level, we gain another ability score improvement. It's at this level that I would take the +2 to your strength, or I would take Great Weapon Master. Moving into our 9th level of Barbarian, we gain Brutal Strike. Now, whenever we use our reckless attack, we can forego any advantage on one of our strength-based attack rolls on our turn, so long as we don't have disadvantage, and gain additional D10 damage of generally bludgeoning, but it follows whatever damage type you're using, but it follows the damage type of whatever weapon you're using, and you can gain a brutal strike effect of your choice. I would recommend Forceful Blow, generally. You don't choose them, so you can have either one whenever you want it, but I would recommend Forceful Blow. This is where the target is pushed 15 feet straight away from you, and you can move up to half your speed straight towards the target without provoking opportunity attacks. Now this sounds almost textbook like her chokeslam and kick ability. So this is it. This is your chokeslam kick combo. It's a little bit backwards, but you can kick them and then you can move half your movement speed, which is 20 at this point. So you can get right back up on them, and then you can grapple them and chokeslam them as much as you'd like, or as much as they'd like. Additionally, you also have access to Hamstring Blow, allowing you to reduce the target's movement speed by 15 until the start of your next turn. It can only be affected by one Hamstring Blow at a time. At 10th level, you gain another weapon mastery. Take any bludgeoning weapon or any weapon that you just kind of want to try out. At 10th level, you also gain Nature Speaker. And if you're playing straight up Emma Frost, this isn't necessarily going to be something you use. I don't think she talks to trees very often, but if you don't mind tweaking her a little bit to fit the fantasy elements of D&D, then this gives you access to the Commune with Nature spell, but once again only as a ritual. And at 11th level, aka level 20, we gain access to Relentless Rage. Now this alters our rage, allowing us to keep fighting despite our grievous wounds. Or whenever we drop to 0 hit points while our rage is still active, we don't die outright. Instead, we make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw, and if we succeed, you immediately regain a number of your hit points equal to twice your Barbarian level. So for our intents and purposes, you're going to regain 22 HP. Each time you use this feature after the first, that DC is going to increase by 5. However, it resets back to 10 whenever you finish a short or long rest. Alright, with the build finished, I wanted to sit down and kind of show you guys what I think the playstyle would look like. So I booted up D&D Maps, which if you don't know, D&D Beyond has a wonderful map system for online tabletop games. It is great. You can upload your own maps. I believe you can only use it if you are a master tier subscriber. I don't really remember. Typically you'd have a party alongside you, but this is just to show off Emma Frost. So it's going to be more of a level 20 1v1, I suppose, but trust me, she can handle herself. I just kind of arbitrarily decided to make her fight a stone giant. There's not really much reason here. If you guys want to, in the suggestions you leave me, you can leave a monster for them to fight at the very end. And I'll do my best to remember that whenever I inevitably make your suggestions. Now, this is a fairly one-sided fight. A level 20 character can generally combat dragons, so the giant is very outmatched, hence why it says difficulty low. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and make you guys run through a whole combat session in D&D. I'm most likely going to speed this up and just talk about the highlighted points. So I assume the stone giant here knows who Emma Frost is, knows she's a very big threat up close. Now Emma Frost in D&D is going to play very similarly to how she does in Marvel Rivals, being kind of half and half, where you have to be very choosy with when you go into your rage. Since whenever you enter your rage, all of your sorcerer levels essentially don't exist. So essentially what you want to do is is if you plan on frontlining a bit more, dealing with melee damage, trying to just get in there and get busy, then you want to rage, charge in, and kick his ass. Let's say your team is trying to play a little bit back, maybe you're trying to run away, then sure, you could play what I call the speed bump strategy and just stand here while the rest of your party wanders off this direction and force him to deal with you before he can even get past anyone. Or you can back up with them and keep using your spells to slow them down and kind of pepper them. Overall, I'm pretty proud of the build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And as always, if there's a character you want to see next time, drop it down in the comment section as well. It can be from anything, not just Marvel Rivals. I have a Daryl Dixon build that I've been working on for a minute, as well as Hiccup and maybe even some of the dragons, and even an idea for the Pokemon starters. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you have any characters you want to see translated into D&D, and I'll do my best to do that. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye!